probably should share the view, I reckon. It's a pretty good view. I hope you saw it. And then you saw my camera stand. It's a pitchfork in a bucket. Improvisation at its finest. And I'm just getting used to the fire. I reckon every fire pit has its own character. It has its own way of being worked. And I don't know why I didn't sit and work with it a lot last year. I had a lot going on last year. But this year it's becoming a ritual now as the sun's going down, is to light a little fire. And what I want to do is build up enough of a hot coal bed and the other medium-sized logs on top, so then I can put a piece of hardwood on it and just let that burn, and then that be my fire time. I think that sounds pretty good. So I'm just working with it to see how best I can make that happen, and if that is the best way to use the fire. So interesting. So this is my little corner in my rocking chair. So I sit in my rocking chair, and the beautiful plants and my bits and pieces, as you see. Isn't that amazing? Oops, where is he? Skull that I found down near the dam, which is, oh, how am I going to do this? Do that. Oh, that's not telling it. Anyway, the dam's down that way, and yeah, I found it down there. So this is my bits and pieces. So I'm not in the garden. I thought I might sit in the rocking chair and talk to you from here. The garden's, oh, let me show you the garden. I don't know if you can see the garden. Garden's over there. So that's where I used to do my recordings. And now I'm undercover, I suppose, now that it's getting colder, and I can have a fire and sit and have a chat. And it's been playing on my mind for weeks now. Chapter 5, record chapter 5. So I have all these journals for this and journals for that, and in my daily journal it's record chapter 5, and I just never seem to get around to it. Don't know why. And it's about being and doing, the balance, and knowing how to and why to find that balance between doing and being. And I think that's what I've been doing. I think that's what I've been being. So going from working, like really pushing myself and doing a lot of work, to burning out, to trying to find a balance, and then going through some injuries, to not being able to do anything and come into being. And that was powerful. So there was a blessing in that experience. It was a real game changer. A lot came up for me to heal. And I think if we don't give ourselves that time and space to catch up with ourselves, we will, well, Spirit will make it happen, because it's just, you don't want to hit the brick wall. And we've got to be wise enough now to listen and act and tune in, and then you just find your life's a better balance. So that's what I've been practicing, is that balance between doing and being. And things that I had to say no to, or saying no to, and being really happy with that, then being wise as to, well, now what do I say yes to, knowing my body and what I've just been through, and how do I want to push myself, and what am I interested in, and what do I want to spend my time doing, is what I want to say yes to. So it's been a fascinating journey of trying different things and doing different things, and finding that balance in between, where I'm reaching, I'm full, Now I need to do, come back to me and just catch up and process and then go back out. And so that's been this amazing practice. And then things never stay the same. So I've had this other change come in, which has added more doing to my life, which is balancing out how I, because of the injury, I wasn't able to do a lot. So this is giving me more movement and getting me out there, and I'm really excited about it and loving it. And then I'm realizing, because I've got that increase, I'm going to have to make other adjustments, because when it wasn't there, I had a good balance. But now that's weighing too much doing. Where's my being? How do I balance out that being? So I'm having to look at where I can, again, refine and define that balance between doing and being. And I get to do that for me, and because I do that for me, and then I find I have more energy, it just adds to my quality of life when I find that balance for me and actually action it. And then that way I'm just more consistent. Better sleep, better quality of life. So chapter 5 is module 2. And module 2 is about getting real. So the first one was the nutcracker. That was really questioning, what do you know? And why do you know it? And why don't you know this? And what are you taught to believe? And, what are you actually feeding yourself? It was a lot about bringing our conscious awareness to ourselves. And chapter 2 is about getting real. Okay, so we've got to do stuff with the information we learn. And this is what I find when we go through trials and tribulations. It's not always easy. You don't always remember at the time. But when we go through trials and tribulations, that's where the practice is. That's where we get to go, the teachings. Okay, what's in my toolkit? Okay, let's do this. And the more we learn to do that, the more you'll be able to get through conflict and challenges and learn and grow from it, as we're supposed to. It's like a maturing process. So module 2 is getting real. And this is we're up to chapter 5. I was there. Chapter 5. Sorry, there it is. It's getting dark. Put my glasses on. Okay. Module 2, Getting Real, Chapter 5, Matter, Energizing Body. So this is about the physical, the material, this dimension, the matrix, muggle world, the things we actually got to live, chop wood, carry water, that kind of thing, the real world, muggle world, the everyday, mundane, cut myself, I bleed, I might need stitches, band-aids, hit yourself, bruised. It's the real world. It's this physical world that we're all physical anyway. So the doing and the being, finding the balance. Everything in moderation, and you won't tip the scales into an unbalanced life. And that's what I was talking about before. It's like now I've got this added thing to my my life that I'm doing. I'm a little bit overloaded now in the doing, and I want to come back to having some time to being, because I really enjoy that time. That's where I get to be creative with my arts and gardening and just wood hunting even. I can't chop wood, so I go hunting wood. So an unbalanced life is a result of how our society, culture, and governments have conditioned us. That's a bit of a tongue twister. An unbalanced life is a result of how our society, culture, and governments have conditioned us. Finding a balanced life is an ongoing choice every day. We live by these very strange concepts. Our society does, and the way that we live our lives, and they are just concepts. Do them a number of ways, but anyway. And finding a balanced life is a choice. It's not going to happen for you, not in this world. We've actually got to deliberately, consciously choose to do something about it and find that balance for ourselves. And a quote by John Wooden is, "Don't mistake activity with achievement." That's very true. How many people are uncomfortable if you're not doing something? It's like you feel like you've got to be busy. Why? Where did that come from? What is the resistance to being able to sit and just eye gaze out? Either looking at the sky, the stars, looking at the grass, the forest, or buildings. It's like wherever you are. What's wrong with just taking a breather and catching up with yourself? I think it's very important. So what is doing? Doing is defined as to perform an act, duty, role, to execute like a piece or amount of work, to accomplish, finish, complete, to put forth, exert, to be the cause of, bring about, effect, to render, give or pay, to deal with, fix, clean, arrange, move, like to do the dishes. But it's a very masculine aspect to us. And this is, again, finding the balance between the being and the doing is finding balance between your feminine and your masculine as well. So being is defined as the fact of existing, just existence itself. Conscious, mortal existence, life. Substance or nature, something that exists, inanimate beings, a living thing, a human being, person. And God is another one. I've got a different definition of God. And that's very feminine because it's still, it's more internal, it's reflective rather than projective and doing and being. And we're actually called human beings, which is interesting. Hang on. Take two. A few days later. But we're called human beings, not human doings. So there's something in that, in the being and the doing. Imagine being called human doings. It doesn't sound right. It reminds me of something else that's not necessarily a good thing. So human beings we are. So we're human beings, not human doings. But what is the being while we're doing? This is when you are consciously aware of being in the present moment while you are doing. Whatever it is that you're doing, you're bringing your conscious awareness to whatever it is you're doing. That's the being in the doing. So bringing your focus, awareness, attention, attitude, mental astuteness, emotional response into the present moment and not thinking about yesterday or several years ago, projecting into the future, worrying about what's to come, stewing over what you said, what you didn't say, or what you did do, or what you didn't do. It's being present with what you're doing at that very moment in time. And that's actually done through conscious choice and thought. It's like deliberately, consciously choosing to be present in the moments during your waking hours. And here's a little diagram to show us the being and the doing, and this is in between, little us. We are in between the being and the doing. And I was thinking about this the other night, and some people are wired to be more doing kind of people, and there are other people who are wired to be more being kinds of people. Neither one is wrong or right. It's what's right for you. Are you a really active person and that you're wired to go, 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 go? There's only so much you can push your body before it will start to react. So even if you are hyperactive and you love being active and doing all these things, you know in yourself that you need to have that balance of downtime. You can't just keep pushing yourself 7 days a week, 365 days a year without having some kind of repercussion. So you need to find that balance in the doing. And it's the same with people who are more wired to be being and probably thinking more about gamers. I used to be a gamer when I was younger, and so I totally get it. But we've got to remember, even with that, because you're more sentient. You're not moving, you're still, and that's not healthy either, to do that 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So you've got to find balance in doing with your being to help your body be healthy as well. So it works both ways. Neither one is wrong and neither one is right. It's just what's the best, what's the wise choice that you can balance out your being and your doing. So what about the unconscious though? The unconscious, subconscious is our body's amazing ability to breathe. Cells are renewing themselves constantly. Biological systems doing their thing, turning food into fuel, and so many other things as well. We don't have to tell our body to do these things. We don't have to tell it to do that, this or the other. It does it as though is how our minds and bodies work. Disrupt that and it can have catastrophic repercussions. For example, severing a spinal cord or a stroke, because it has that impact, that connection from the functioning mind that tells the body what to do and the body. So that will disrupt your ability to do as opposed to being. And I hate to say it and I don't want to bring it up, but even brain dead people, nothing's happening because the brain is is the instructor, the conductor of our bodies. This amazing ability of our bodies innately knowing what to do actually frees up our conscious mind to think, rationalize, reflect, and improve. So even here, between doing and being is accomplishing, reacting, behavior driven, conscious, driven by success, changing, answering, answer to how. That's the doing. The being is self-aware, insightful, values-driven, unconscious, not afraid to fail, transforming, questioning, answers to why. So I'm one of these people. I think that's more wired to being, because why, my spirit name is of why, OFWHY, because I ask questions. That's my essence of my being, of why. Why anything? So major health issues arise when we consciously ignore what our bodies are telling us. If we become fully present, we have the ability to listen to our bodies. Am I really hungry? Or is that signal telling me I'm thirsty? And that happens a lot. People think they're hungry and they'll go to food first when actually their body is thirsty. We've got to retrain ourselves to really listen to what are the signals my body's telling me so we actually interpret them correctly. And it'll even tell you kind of like what foods to avoid and what foods to eat, what liquids to drink and what liquids not to drink, if only we paid more attention to what our bodies are telling us. If we are too busy worrying about external influences, then we will miss what our bodies are telling us. Be while you do. Don't go into autopilot and allow old patterns of behavior and thought to infiltrate and disturb the status quo. I'll say that again. Be while you do. Don't go into autopilot and allow old patterns of behavior and thought to infiltrate and disturb the status quo. Step out of the old comfort zones and approach new ways of being and doing. Conscious awareness firmly requests you to stay aware of where you are. Conscious awareness firmly requests you stay aware of who you are. Don't follow trends. You are not a mindless body following marketing or advertising orders. You have a mind and a body to listen and guide yourself. Think for yourself, be, act for yourself, do. Cultivate your relationship with your soul so your presence is a source of blessing. In any situation, the clearest, strongest energy prevails. Bring the honey of peace to the bitter tea of conflict. Spread the balm of kindness on the wounds of the world. Your being, as much as your doing, restores your world to wholeness. Isn't that a beautiful way to finish? So thank you. That was chapter 5 of module 2, Getting Real of a Spirited Life. Aho, amen, so mote it be. Hello, beautiful beings. Mim here from Mystic Pathways. I was just sitting and musing around chapter 5, and it's funny how long it's taken me to record it, and then it's now going to be in 3 sections. Did you get that? That's what you get for being and doing. So I was musing into chapter 5, being and doing and finding the balance, and the importance of it is multi-layered, it's multi-dimensional even. The importance of finding the balance between being and doing, because it's in those times of being that we're actually tapping into our feminine side that can help us fine tune or even just begin to realize your dreams, your direction, your hopes, your desires, that's tapping back into your intuition. But if we're doing all the time, especially if it's externally stimulated, then we're lost to our own selves. So it's really important to find the time to balance between your doing, and we all do, and we all have to do. It's part of the balance. That's our masculine. And especially with the world that we live in now, where we have to earn an income to survive. It's just the way the system's set up. So we have to do, in a sense. And then it's finding the being, because we're human beings. We're not human doings, remember. And I think a lot of people have feelings of being uncomfortable, don't feel easy in the being side of things, because that's when we actually do confront ourselves. That's actually when we do tap into how we're feeling, what are we thinking, and what are we doing, and where are we heading, and what's going on is in the being, because it's in the being that you get to hear. It's in the being that you get to feel. It's in the being that you get to realize. And it's giving yourself that time, however that is for you, finding that being, finding that balance. So for me, it could be just sitting in my rocking chair, just looking out over the paddock, watching nature, and just allowing my mind to wander and think. Or if I've got a specific question in mind, I'll ask, and then I'll muse over answers. Or direction, it's like I tune into what lights up for me and what casts a shadow for me to then find the direction that's for me. And that's me then living my path by finding the balance between being and doing. And that's the importance of being, because then we get to reconcile, which is really important, reconciling our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, our deeds. Are we in congruence, or are we ignoring parts of ourselves, which I think we've become very good at, ignoring and denying, because we are so busy, because we are so externally stimulated. We've forgotten how to be internally driven. And it's finding the nature, it's finding the balance of the two, the feminine and the masculine. The feminine is the guide. She's the intuit. She's the oracle. She's the nurturer. She's the carer. She knows what you need. She knows their body language. The masculine, well, he's the doer. He's the action. That's that side of us that gets up and moves about, goes out, gets the wood, pays your taxes. If you're into that thing, I was not that into that thing, you know what I mean. Whenever I come to taxes, I think of my dad, because that's what he helped me come to grips with. So that helps me get in tune with my masculine side of the tasks that we kind of like need to do in this matrix that we live in. Chop wood, that's my masculine side. My feminine side would be go do it now before it starts raining, and she'll guide me as to where to go find the best wood, because I can't chop wood. but I can certainly go and find it. So it's balancing the two. It's the feminine that tunes in and goes, okay, we've got to go eat well. And the masculine goes, okay, let's go make that happen. It's balancing the two. But I think a lot of us, because of the paradigm, the influence of the world, the madness of the world, who knows, whatever it is, we're more in touch with our masculine, which is more in touch with, as we know, the left thinking brain, because it's the action, it's the doing. But we need to balance that out with the intuitive side of us, the softer side of us, the one that feels the connections, the one that feels what's good, what's not good, direction, balance, what's joy, what's not. You know, that side of us, we've got to give that time to get back in touch with. And we can do that in a myriad of different ways. And like I said before, it could be sitting in a rocking chair, it could be gardening, it could be giving yourself the time and space to tune in, catch up, work out where you're at, where are you heading, what changes you need to make, because we're not meant to be staid creatures. We're not meant to be as we were 5 years ago. Why would we? How could we, when things change and evolve and grow around us constantly? It's like, how comfortable can we get on the edge of our comfort zone? Well, you'll only find that between your balance between being and doing. Because it's in that beingness that you get to encourage yourself. It's in that beingness that you get to self-reflect, self-correct, self-soothe. It's in that beingness that you learn how to take better care of yourself. And the doingness is putting it into action. The doingness is knowing, I've got to move this body. Doing this knows, I'm part of this. I'm going to do this. So I just wanted to touch more onto that side of the being and the doing and finding the balance. Is we really do need to consciously be aware of the beingness so we can reconcile, catch up with ourselves, correct ourselves, and be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Don't be a hindrance, be a help. And we can only do that by self-reflection. We can only do that by self-correction. Because only you know deep down in your bones what works and what doesn't work, and what's good for you and what's not good for you, and where you want to head. That's deep down in your bones. And if you don't give yourself time enough to listen to that, feel into that, lean into that, then how do you know where you're at, who you are, and where you're going? Are you just part of this mad circus that's heading for the edge of the cliff, or are you standing back going, oh wow, I'm just going to watch that slide on by? It's like, don't lose that balance within yourself to the madness that's out there. And we do that by tuning in. And this is the other thing, is realizing we've got nothing to prove to anyone. So all this having to impose on other people is just like, why? Are you that insecure within yourself that you can't just be contained and autonomous and an agent for yourself? Why the insecurities? Like, come back and find that balance within yourself. That when you are happy within yourself with who you are, you've got nothing to prove. It still doesn't mean we don't strive, but maybe the priorities, the pressure, and the agenda behind, the intent behind shifts and changes. But there's proving what to the world? That you exist, that you're this, that, and the other. It's like, just, if it's you, believe it, live it, just do it, and just get on with it. Finding that balance within means finding that peace within. Finding that balance and that peace within, you can only get by allowing yourself time to be it. And then be that intent behind your doing. So I think this is the end of that chapter now, and I'll move on to the next one. So God bless. Aho, amen, so mote it be.